in the heart of Peterborough. This is Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening, and welcome to Wealth Made Simple. I'm your host, Kieran, and I'm here with...
Your co-host, Shaz Nawaz. Is that what you were thinking?
I was thinking...
With my guest?
No.
With a visitor?
With my visitor.
With somebody.
With that random bloke across the way.
Yeah. Who's here every week.
Who allegedly knows a thing or two.
About a thing or two.
About a thing or two.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Rumour has it.
We'll soon find out.
And as always, if you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can call us. Call the studio on 01733 602 133. You can text us on 07411 191062, or you can comment on any of the live streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X. And we'd love to hear from you. As always, everything we say is from our experience and from our knowledge banks and what we've seen, what we've done. It's not financial advice. It's not supposed to be advice of any sort. If you want financial advice, go and seek a financial advisor who is authorized to give you that advice, because we are not. So this is just from experience.
And information.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. With that,
what are we talking about today, Kieran?
This week on Wealth Made Simple, we're going to talk about one of your favorite subjects. It depends. It's tax.
It depends is my favorite subject.
Yeah, yeah, it really
all
is.
the time, yeah.
How much tax should I pay? It depends.
Yeah.
It's your favorite answer.
I think every question, the answer to every question should start with it depends.
Well, it depends on your situation. It depends on...
It depends on what you want. Because when I was doing that talk last week, do you remember someone said about some question about something to do with tax, I think. And
usually what they ask you is...
How do I pay no tax, low tax, or whatever else, okay? And I said to him, that's like you saying to me, or something like that.
How do I pay no tax?
It was Rishi, wasn't it?
For a car or something, yeah. It was Rishi.
Was asking that question. Oh, no, that was Andrew asking about the car.
Yeah, that was Andrew about the car, yeah.
And it was, but it's like, it's like you're saying, I want to buy a car. What car should I get? Well, it depends, doesn't it? You know?
Do you want a family car? Do you want a sports car? Do you want a saloon?
Do you want a coupe? Do you want a
electric, diesel?
Drop top, convertible, do you have pets? Do you play golf or need a sport where you need a bigger boot? Where do you live? On road, off road, that type of stuff. How many miles are you going to do? All sorts of, you open to electric. There's a number of questions.
Yeah. You've got to be specific.
It's very difficult just to answer any question with yes or no. I mean, it can be a yes or no question, but it has to be questioned in that particular way. Do you like the colour red, Kieran? I mean, you might. It depends.
Well, it depends. What shade of red are we talking?
Yeah. Or it depends on what occasion you're talking about. But generally, you can ask a question in a confined way where you can be yes or no. But
do I like red in terms of marketing? Because colours are important in marketing. I mean, look at all the big food brands, fast food brands. Show me a fast food brand that doesn't have red in its logo.
Can't show you right now, but I'll have a look.
McDonald's, yellow M, red background.
Yeah, that's right.
KFC,
yeah,
red and white bucket.
Burger King,
red background.
Wimpy,
red and white.
Pizza Hut, I think got red.
Red.
Pizza Express, I'm not sure about. But there's some we can go through all of them. Yeah.
But the global.
Red is popular. Red and blue are popular colours.
Yeah, and there is a marketing reason for that. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole we don't need to go down.
Not today.
But if any of our listeners want us to go down that rabbit hole, I will happily go down that rabbit hole.
You have to keep digging.
Yeah. We can go down the psychology of marketing and what all the colours mean if that's what people are interested in, because it does pertain to Wealth Made Simple. Because marketing encourages you to spend money, encourages you to have brand loyalty.
Puts more money in your bank account as a business.
So it is important. It is important. It is relevant.
We should do a whole thing on marketing, in fact.
Yeah.
Just generally, I think it's incredibly important. I think it would be eye-opening for people how we see marketing compared to how other people see marketing, especially from a pure direct response point of view.
Yeah, I think it would.
For every
And there's
pound
a-
you spend, how much do I get back?
And there's a lot of
Yeah.
there's
That's
a
what
lot
we're
of marketing
interested
campaigns that go on that I see externally, that because my brain has been taught marketing in that sense, I look at it and I understand what vehicles they're using to elicit which responses to get to see what's working.
Yeah. Smart,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, very.
But that's
very
for
but that's
another day.
for another day.
Maybe
Today,
next week.
Maybe next week. Today we're going to talk about tax, and just for fun, I'm going to read out a poem.
Oh, wow. That's a treat, a rare treat.
Rare treat, a poem that has been written about tax, which I found really entertaining. I know you did because you're the one who sent it to me. I would love to credit the author of this poem, but the author is anonymous, so I cannot. But here we go. Tax his land, tax his bed, tax the table at which he's fed, tax his work, tax his pay. He works for peanuts anyway. Tax his cow, tax his goat, tax his pants, tax his coat. Tax his tobacco, tax his drink, tax him if he tries to think. Tax his car, tax his gas, find other ways to tax his ass. Tax all he has, then let him know that you won't be done till he has no dough. When he screams and hollers, then tax him some more. Tax him till he's good and sore. Then tax his coffin, then tax his grave. Tax the sod in which he's laid. When he's gone, do not relax. It's time to apply the inheritance tax, the accounts receivable tax, the airline surcharge tax, airline fuel tax, airport maintenance tax, building permit tax, cigarette tax, cooking tax, corporate income tax, goods and services tax, death tax, driving permit tax, environmental tax, excise taxes, income taxes, fishing license tax, food license tax, petrol tax, gross receipt tax, health tax, heating tax, inheritance tax, interest tax, lighting tax, liquor tax, luxury taxes, marriage license tax, medical taxes, mortgage taxes, pension taxes, personal income taxes, property taxes, poverty taxes, prescription drug taxes, recreational vehicle taxes, retail sales tax, service charge tax, school tax, telephone tax, value-added tax, vehicle license and registration tax, vehicle sales tax, water tax, workers' compensation tax, tax on tax. And now we are adding a carbon tax. Not one of these taxes existed 100 years ago. And 100 years ago, our nation was one of the most prosperous in the world, if not the most prosperous in the world. We had absolutely minimal national debt, a very large middle class, a huge manufacturing base, and generally people earned enough for it to be single income households. And now we do not have that luxury, and we give our politicians our money, and we waste so much in the country just on taxes and on secondary taxes and on tax on tax.
A lot of tax. I mean, some of those might.
Some of those sounded
might
American.
Be American, yeah, that's right. But we'll have the UK equivalent.
Yeah. But
Just goes to show you, doesn't it?
isn't that crazy?
That
Long list of taxes.
Yeah. Well, I think if somebody would to wake up in the morning, and whatever the first thing that they wake up and they do, okay, to drive to work, and then whatever they do during work, come home, and look at every single thing that they're doing. From, let's say somebody smokes, have a cigarette tax, toothpaste, food, whatever else. Okay, look at every single thing that they're buying. Okay, and look at the tax that they're paying on that, and you'll see that a significant and a huge amount of the income that one earns goes towards tax, Kieran. It really is eye opening in terms of how much tax is paid by us as individuals. Okay, indirectly in terms of VAT or other taxes above and beyond pay as you earn or income tax as a self-employed person, it is a huge amount, you know.
Well, I mean, you pay income tax on the money that you earn as an employee. You then pay value added tax on just about any item in a shop that you buy. You then have to pay fuel tax and VAT and import tax
Well, let me make it easy
on
for
your
you.
petrol.
You wake up in the morning,
Yep.
okay, and you start getting taxed. You turn the lights, turn the heating, okay. You turn the kettle, okay. You got tax. Then to when you go to sleep, you're paying tax for not sleeping rough, i.e., council tax.
Yeah.
Okay. You get taxed to travel to work. You get taxed for pretty much everything you do. You tax, like you said, you get taxed for fuel. You get taxed for
The road you drive on.
road tax. Okay. It just goes on and on and on and on, and then you go to the shop and you want to buy some cigarettes. Like I said, you get taxed. If somebody drinks alcohol, for example, they're paying tax on liquor, as you said earlier, and then wherever you go, look left, right, centre, you're paying a lot of tax. And I did a calculation, and I can't remember exactly the numbers. I think it's like 81% of the income that you get goes towards tax. One direct through PAYE, then kind of I call it indirect, as in you're buying stuff and you're paying taxes. Okay, and so you got 19% left.
No wonder.
Not a lot.
No wonder so many people are struggling.
Yeah, it's just. And then, like you said, when you die, you pay tax. Death taxes, inheritance tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just.
They say two things are guaranteed in life: death and taxes.
It's just, and then you obviously your capital gains tax, you got corporation tax, you got income tax, inheritance tax, national insurance, excise duties, insurance premium tax when you pay on insurance, petrol revenue tax, stamp duty, land tax, stamp duty reserve tax, VAT, even TV licenses, salt tax, landfill taxes, business rates, council tax, environment and green taxes, air passenger duty when you're flying, yeah, which is significant, gaming duties, climate change levy, vehicle excise duty. You heard about tampon tax a few years ago, and then you've got the additional tax that people pay in the last, I think it started 2 years ago, the adult and social care levy. It's just, how much can people take?
Well, I mean, how much can the government legitimately take in tax before we start approaching indentured servitude?
Not far away.
Like I say, I mean, roughly, and it's not an exact calculation, but 81% of your income goes out in just taxes.
When you add everything up for everything that you spend money on, some more, some less, by the way, okay, depending on what people do. I don't think it's fair to say, Kieron, most people don't mind paying tax, most.
Yeah.
As long as they get something in return. And of course, there's certain services, but when you go around, and as you know, with one of my previous hats on as a local councillor, people say the most common thing was we're paying more and we're getting less.
Yeah.
20 years ago, we were getting more.
Yeah, I completely see that.
And people saying, especially those who've been around for a while, okay, are saying, I'm paying more now, but when I look around me with this policing, crime, fly tipping, okay, NHS, education, the whole thing's crumbling in their view, in their eyes. But I'm paying more now than I ever was in the last 20, 25, 30 years, okay, maybe even 40 years. Yet I get less back, and I'm being told this is all for services that we render directly or indirectly. Well, I'm not getting as much as I used to, so I should be paying less. And that question, on that observation, comes up quite often.
Well, I mean, you just have to look at other places around the world, and people draw direct comparisons. You look at the earthquake that happened in Japan a few years ago, and entire swathes of motorways were destroyed and torn apart. Took them a month to fix it. Less time than that, I think. Completely fixed. Cars driving on it again. There are some potholes on well-used roads that take years to get fixed. Individual potholes. This was entire sections of road torn apart, and they fixed it in less than a month. And we can't fix a pothole in less than a
The
year.
Japanese are efficient, though, aren't they?
They're very efficient. But the point is still the same. People draw that comparison. They go, well, if that's possible, it proves it is possible. Once you've proved it's possible, why aren't you repeating it? Why aren't you modelling yourself on that level of efficiency? Why aren't we, looking around the world at what the best practices around the world are and modelling our businesses and ourselves on those best practices? Surely. And if someone's putting that level of efficiency in, I don't mind paying that level of tax.
Yeah, I think, like I said to you, most people don't mind that. As long as they think there's a fair trade, a fair return, a fair exchange of value.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. And I mean, okay, history lesson for you now.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. You sound bored, Shaz.
No. Never.
So
You should remember, history repeats itself, my friend.
it does.
So pay attention.
Yeah, unless you want to repeat it, and I for one do not.
Well, good things maybe yes, but the bad things definitely not.
Yeah. So when do you think tax in the UK started in general?
1639.
I mean, you're not far off. 12th century.
Okay.
12th century, in the medieval period, people were taxed not constantly. They were only taxed to go to war.
Yep.
If we were, if the king wanted to take over somebody else's land, we paid taxes. We paid taxes to fund the armed forces. That was what it was.
Yeah, it was a temporary tax that was introduced.
Yeah, temporary tax levies.
And then it just continued.
And then fast forward to the 16th century, the Tudors and Stuarts.
Mm-hmm.
That's where...
Take me back to GCSE history.
I know.
Tudors and Stuarts.
That's when we get more consistent taxes, because individuals, the royal family, as it was then, Henry VIII, things like that, had an extravagant lifestyle, and the people paid for it. And whether you agree with that or disagree with that, that's down to you as an individual. But the royal family, from that point on, had levied taxes on the people, and because it was their kingdom, and so we start that's a kind of like our baseline for taxes. And I mean, if all my taxes did was fund the royal family, okay, fine, I've got no issue with that, but reduce the amount I pay. Sadly, we live in a modern world, and it doesn't quite work that way anymore. Mm-hmm. Then, in the late 17th century, parliamentary control was taken. And, this, 1688, turning point in UK history that led to the establishment of a constitutional monarchy, and the principle that taxes could only be levied with the consent of Parliament. And this was really the foundation of parliamentary control over taxes.
It's been ever since.
And it has, and it's never wavered since. 1799, those rich people who
I remember those days.
Yeah, when you were a young whippersnapper.
That's right, yeah.
1799 was when those people in charge, the people that ran the country for us on our behalf, that were supposed to represent the people, started the income tax.
Interesting, isn't it? Because at that time, Britain was a huge empire as well.
Yeah.
So the income and revenue coming in, I say income and revenue, the money being looted.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Let's be honest about it.
Let's be honest about it.
Okay, that was coming in. Must have been significant.
Oh,
So
hugely.
I mean, I've not researched into this, but what was this additional funding being used for?
Well, this is it. Well, the
Further expeditions to different parts of the world, maybe. I don't know.
maybe, but the initial income tax was originally levied to fund the war against Napoleon.
Yeah.
But it was and I'm going to say this in inverted commas, temporary measure. It was one of those.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It was one of those temporary measures that is still temporary to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, just a trial.
Yeah, we'll trial this.
Never-ending trial.
But in fairness, from 1799 until the 19th century, we generally only had income tax to contend with. It wasn't until the Victorian era where we saw the expansion of the tax system to include excise duty, property taxes, development taxes, and the beginning of the development of the comprehensive tax code as it was then, tax ledger as it is now. As it went along with the empire's growth.
I think it's been like 23,000 pages, something like that.
23,000
Something like that, yeah.
pages.
20,000 plus.
Yeah.
Vast.
I mean, that
complicated.
is, and that's the reason.
Comprehensive and to some extent antiquated and old.
Well, I mean, like you say, it started in earnest in 1799, early 19th century, which is, history buffs of us, 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
That was the 19th century. So we're talking, almost 300 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a bit more, yeah.
And so, and a lot of them haven't been rescinded. They've just been overwritten, updated, modified. But the rules are still very, very antiquated in a lot of cases because there's been no need to update them for the majority of history. Take, for example, and this is a more recent one, in terms of inheritance, if you don't have a will in place, the rules of intestacy kick in.
Mm-hmm.
And the rules of intestacy were written for a period of time where families were individual families, and it was a husband, a wife, and children. And so the line was very linear. At no point does it take into account, second marriages, third marriages, stepchildren, additional children, children out. Doesn't take any of that into account.
Because things were different in those days.
Because things were different in those days. Yeah. But because it doesn't take into, if you fall into that,
unless you were Henry VIII, but yeah.
Yeah. If you fall into that, it fails, and it can fail quite badly. Mm-hmm. But that's again slight, but it's just to illustrate the point. So that tax code that is now, like Shaz says, over 20,000 pages long, was started in the early 19th century, and with the growth of the British Empire and all of that, we got the increased need for revenue from the people, allegedly, is what necessitated it. Now we fast forward to the beginning of the welfare states. So post World War I, post World War II, they imposed both the Great Wars posed a significant fiscal burden on the UK because we were forefront in those fights, along with so many others. And new taxes were introduced and expanded on the income tax base to finance the conflict, to finance our fight against that. And it was named the Prime Minister who started the establishment of the modern welfare state. Labour man.
Okay. It would have been Clement Attlee.
Right in one. Didn't even need a second guess. Yep. But that welfare state is funded through a progressive tax system.
Yeah.
And thus it has continued to this day, with more taxes getting added and changed and modified to the system that we have today, which, as you say, is incredibly complicated and very poorly understood, and why you need, if you want to get into it, an expert, and people have dedicated their lives to understanding this, and why there are so many bits and pieces that people can utilize or people shouldn't utilize around the entire code to make it work, and make it work for you. Because, interesting fact, you're entitled to pay the tax you owe as long as you can prove that you're paying the right amount.
That's always been the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most people just don't know it.
Ignorance is not bliss.
And it's so complicated, they don't know how to do it.
And more on that after this short break.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
Masterminds Tuition Academy is for your high schoolers, your something to provers, your subject strugglers and keen learners, your brave jumpers and fist pumpers. Affordable personalised learning plans are delivered through our centres in schools across Peterborough. But not to worry, we also provide online and home visits with flexible timings. Whether it is maths, English, science or 11 plus, Masterminds is a must. Find us on all socials and visit our website mastermindstuitionacademy.com or call us on 07516 166 003. Masterminds, master the matrix.
At Master's Pharmacy, we put your health and convenience first. We offer free blood pressure checks and blister-packed medication. With our free same-day prescription delivery service, you can have your medication when you need it. We also offer travel vaccinations, including Hajj and Umrah, along with other services to meet all your pharmacy needs. For more information, contact Master's Pharmacy on 01733 567 208 or visit us at 303 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PH.
Thinking of laser hair removal but worried about cost? Well Skin Clinic, Peterborough's #1 aesthetic clinic, offers 0% finance on courses of laser hair removal. We perform thousands of treatments using the Soprano titanium in our prestigious clinic. Virtually pain-free and suitable for all skin types, our team of aesthetic professionals can help you achieve your goals affordably. Well Skin Clinic, making life-changing aesthetic treatments affordable for all. 40 Cowgate, Peterborough. Call or WhatsApp us on 01733 555540.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
At Cake Inn, all our cakes and slices are freshly baked for that delicious taste. At Cake Inn, we bake 100% vegetarian and halal eggless fresh queen cakes. Delicious flavoured cakes for birthdays and weddings, ceremonies and all other occasions, with free customised messages, even balloons and candles too. Order for delivery or collection from Cake Inn, 489 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PE, and your cake could be ready within 2 hours. Find out more and order online at cakein.co.uk or call 01733 496 584.
Mar food store Lincoln Road Triangle te inna rush o balle hoye tusani amba ne pure mulke vich rolle
पाकिस्तानी सौगातां जी अंब ले लो जामनू ले लो पाकिस्तानी ताजे मिठे अंब ते जामनू आ गए जी
ਯਕੀਨ ਕਰੋ ਜੀ ਭਾਈ ਨਾ ਮਾਰ ਫੂਡ ਸਟੋਰ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਵਰਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਬ੍ਰਾਂਡ ਦਾ ਅੰਬ ਮੰਗਵਾ ਕੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਯੂਕੇ ਨੂੰ ਨਸ਼ਲ ਲਵਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਕਿਸਤਾਨੀ ਜਾਮਣੂ ਵੀ ਭਾਈ ਉਹ ਜਨੇ ਨੇ ਆ ਪੁੱਤਰ
Amar Food Stores, Al Mishu, fresh halal meat and groceries. Address 613B Lincoln Road, Triangle, Peterborough. Telephone 01733 687374. Amar Food Stores, Meyar ka naam, Munasib Daam.
listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salam Radio.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening and welcome back to Wealth Made Simple. With me, Kieran Bateman, and...
Shaz Nawaz.
Good evening, Shaz. How are you?
Very good, thank you, Kieran. And you?
I'm all good. We've been talking about taxes this week, and we're going to continue to talk about taxes. If you want to get in touch, you can call the show on 01733 602 133. You can text us on 07411 191 062, or you can comment on any of our live streams on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X.
Good. So tax.
Tax.
Where do we start?
Well, we've been talking about tax and the history of tax, and we've given a very brief overview of the history of tax and where it came from and what it is. And something I just mentioned was that people are entitled to pay the right amount of the amount of tax that is right for them, including all reliefs and exemptions taken into account.
You're right. Entitled. I don't remember the exact quote, but there's a couple of cases that went through court, and it's incumbent upon you. That wasn't the word used, by the way. Okay,
yeah.
It's your right, it's your duty, it's your obligation to structure your tax affairs in such a way that so that you pay the least amount of tax using the available reliefs, exemptions, and allowances. Nothing wrong with that. That's not dodgy, risky, pacey, tax avoidance, all that kind of stuff.
No.
You're just using the tax system to your
in the most efficient way.
In the most efficient way, okay, to get the most efficient outcome.
Yeah.
And even if an HMRC come in looking at your stuff and you do that, they say, yeah, that's all fine. As long as you've used the right reliefs at the right time and they apply it to you, they won't have a problem with you at all.
No, and this I think is something that a lot of people fundamentally misunderstand about taxes, and they will, and you do hear it a lot. Oh, they should pay more tax. They should pay more. Yeah, they're earning. Well, unfortunately, and this is sadly the case for a lot of people, is if you've got enough money to invest in someone that knows the tax code, that knows what is out there, then you can be more efficient than somebody who just accepts their lot in life and pays whatever's presented to in front of them.
Yeah, it's unfair as that seems. That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the issue that a lot of people I think have with business owners, entrepreneurs, high net worth individuals, because they have learned that they need to go to a specialist
Mm-hmm.
and an expert to structure their tax in an efficient way, and they know that that's legal, and they do it all above board, and it's all legal and it's all fair. And like you say, HMRC can come and look at it and go, yeah, that's fine. That applied to you at this point. You did this at this point. That's all correct. But as we said earlier, the tax code is 20 odd thousand pages long.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to read 20,000 pages of
I think
tax.
you really do. One would struggle to understand all that.
Yeah.
Until you put it into practice. And it is complicated, and like I said to you, unevenly imbalanced in the favor of certain people. But that's the rules are the rules. That applies to everything, whether it's health and safety.
Yep.
Whether it's just something to do with you have an office, okay, and all the different regulations you need to meet, as you know. Something that we looked at last
something
week.
that we have to do.
Okay, but last week with the concrete, cement, that kind of stuff, which came to our attention, which didn't apply, but but
it could have done.
Yeah, but people expect you to be aware of it. Legionnaires, asbestos, so on, so forth. But I wasn't aware. But the government doesn't say ignorance is bliss.
No, and ignorance is not an excuse.
Mm.
And I do think that is a lot of the time the case. Ignorance is never an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know I had to do that.
And you've got to become acquainted as.
I mean, so
unreasonable. Some people might see that. Okay, that's how it is.
Yeah, take the, like you say, last week the concrete. I had to become intimately acquainted with that very, very quickly and understand the rulings, the regulations, and what was permissible, what was not permissible in a morning, essentially. And because that's part of my role.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of what I do. And I did. I took the legislation, I took the government guidelines, I listened to relevant experts, and I made myself knowledgeable about that item to be able to make an informed decision, so that we could make an informed decision, rather than, well, I think this is all right.
Yeah. But sometimes people don't know they need to have certain inspections carried out.
Yeah.
Because they own a commercial property and they don't ever do it and they don't check it. And so when something goes wrong, it's their fault. No, I never knew that. You've got to go to somebody who knows what they're doing and ask them.
Yeah.
Same with tax. Same with being a buy-to-let landlord, because we talk a lot about property here. Same with making investments. If you go to a financial advisor or financial expert, or you can do it yourself and make the mistakes, and it can go wrong.
Well, it feeds back into something we say repeatedly. Do your due diligence.
Exactly. But a good tax expert, we talk about tax, should save you more than they charge you.
Yes.
So you're never going to be on a loss situation. You'll be a win-win situation.
Yeah, when it comes to that. I mean, just as a example, theoretical example, if, the stars align and everything's in the right order, knowing the tax rules as you do, theoretically, if you had everything in place, structured properly, what's the most you could take home before putting your hand in your pocket to HMRC?
Depends how much money you need, though, doesn't it?
It does depend on how much money. See, we're going back to what we said earlier. It depends.
Yeah.
But as a theoretical exercise,
I think you can, if you're smart about it, you can think about 40 grand per person and pay no tax.
Did you hear that at home, everyone? About 40 grand.
It's about 40
potentially.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is a theoretical limit. It's not hard and fast rule. Depends on how much you need, depends on what you're doing, depends on what industry you're in. There are so many moving parts to this, to make it work, to make it not work, that, and to a degree, on some of it, you've got to have also had some funds up front to invest in the first place, to then be claiming back certain other entitlements.
Yeah, that's right. So you put your personal allowance for income tax purposes, which is £12,570. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you've got your tax-free dividend, which seems to be depleting
year on year, isn't it?
Year, okay. Then you've got your personal savings allowance, if you're a basic rate taxpayer or high rate taxpayer. Then the starting rate savings allowance, or the starting rate savings may apply to you, which is from 12,570 all the way up to 17,570. Okay.
Maximum of £5,000.
Yeah, £5,000. You've got that. Then on top of that, you've got rent a room relief.
£7,500.
£7,500. Okay, which you can rent out a room in your house. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you add all of that up, that gives you a decent figure. And then on top of that, let's say you're just using your personal car for business purposes, and yes, the car will cost you some money, but you're claiming 45 pence a mile, okay, for the first 10,000 miles, and the actual cost might not be 45 pence a mile, though.
No.
You might have a let's say a half decent car or an old car, and it costs you 18 pence a mile. You're charging 45 pence a mile, or the extra or the difference. Okay.
It covers the wear and tear, tires and.
No, but I'm saying 18 pence for the whole lot.
Oh yeah.
Including fuel, for example. It's different for different cars.
Yeah.
It depends. But yeah. But you've got that added on to that. Then if you're working from home, you've got use of home as office, and there's obviously, as you know, there's two different ways of working that.
Yeah.
And then there's so many other employee benefits you can get if you're, like, say, an employee of a company or a director. You got parking, you got eye test, you can have a staff canteen as long as it's available to everybody. You've got mileage, mobile phone, drinks at work, hot drinks at work. Okay, incidental overnight stay, £5 per night in the UK, £10 overseas. You got £150 per head party, normally known as the Christmas party, but it can be a barbecue, something else. But most companies use it during Christmas time. You've got a Medical checkup and assessment plus 500 towards medical treatment by employer is tax-free if employees off work for at least 28 days due to illness and treatment recommended to help them get back to work. You've got the long service award if you work 20 years, which is £50 per year.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as it hasn't been used in the last 10 years. And then you got triple benefits, which is £50 or less per person. Usually you can use it 6 times in a year. Can't be cash or cash vouchers, but you could take. Let's say you're a company director and you and your spouse work in the company. You could both go for dinner. £50 each. As long as you're both employees.
I mean, £100 for dinner is nothing to sniff at.
Can you see how this adds up? Yeah. You got welfare counselling. You got bicycle and safety equipment. Okay, and your cycle to work scheme, electric car charging, removal expenses if you're being relocated by your employer up to £8,000. Okay, childcare vouchers while using salary sacrifice. You can use salary sacrifice for quite a few different things, including your pension payments, and that reduces your tax significantly. Overall tax. And then you've got your job related accommodation as long as you meet the specific conditions. You've got training related employment, including travel subsistence and other expenses. Like I said, working from home, you've got the fixed rate charge that HMRC allow you to use, or you can have the actual costs.
I would always take the actual costs, but go see a professional about that.
There's a lot here, Kieran, from what I've just said with you there, where you can reduce or get quite a bit of income into your pocket using the reliefs and allowances and exemptions, okay, which are tax-free.
Yeah.
It's
huge.
huge.
I mean, that was a long old list.
Yeah.
And that's not all there is, by the way.
Oh, there's more stuff. This is just stuff that
this is just the surface
rattled
stuff.
through,
Yeah.
Makes a big difference
It does.
if you're organised and disciplined in the way that you do things.
Yeah. And, but you don't know what you don't know. I mean, before working with you, I hadn't heard of any of those. It's not a matter of I hadn't heard of half of them, or there's a couple in there, any of them.
People don't know about this stuff. They went about 1 or 2 here, there, whatever, as they apply to them.
Yeah.
But not all of them.
And that's if you are a director of a company or an employee of a company, a lot of those can work for you.
Yeah, and then you got the stuff like pensions, which we did a session on a while back. If you're buying property, can I claim property allowances? Okay.
Yeah.
Does land remediation relief apply to me? Okay. Stamp duty, land taxes. Okay. What different connotations are there in terms of mitigating that, and what opportunities are there?
Yeah. See, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to move on to this as well. Great minds, see. But
I'm
then
learning.
again, fools never differ.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So, bear in mind, a couple of minutes ago, before we went through all the different available, potential things that you can use to reduce your tax burden. Said, it's probably a theoretical, £40,000 ish.
If you structure it,
If you
right.
structure it
Yeah,
really,
and you
really
got to be
well.
disciplined about that.
Yeah,
And do certain
yeah.
things. I mean, someone was saying, "I don't want to rent a room in my house," but then you ain't gonna get $7.5 grand. And if you're a husband or wife or two civil partners, then it's $3,750 each. But it's there. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. But
but it is there.
It's there.
But the thing I was going on to is, if I were, however, hypothetically speaking, doing commercial conversions as a sole trader and claiming capital allowances.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yep.
Theoretically, the limit is however much I can get in capital allowances.
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
In terms of why have you got so much in capital allowances, you mean?
No. So, say I bought a commercial property and, I'm going to keep it for commercial use. It's got capital allowances in there because whoever bought it before didn't know about capital allowances, so didn't utilise them.
And they passed them all on to you, yeah.
And they've passed them all on to me, and then I refit the place with my own capital allowances in that first year, and now I've got, say, £300,000 worth of capital allowances.
Yeah.
And I've made a profit of, £300,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to pay tax on that £300,000, right?
Yeah. If you didn't have any capital allowances, yeah.
But I've got £300,000 of capital allowances.
It depends. If you've got 300 grand of old and new, you can use some of the old, depending on which pool they go into, and all of the new using your annual investment allowance up to £1 million. So you could, depending on how much of that is old and new, wipe out the whole lot. But if you can't wipe out the whole lot, you'll wipe out the lion's share.
Yeah.
Of that 300 grand. That's significant, Kieran.
Yeah, it really is.
Work out the tax on 300 grand. It's a lot of money.
The tax on 300 grand at...
Well, it's 45%.
45%.
Once you go over 125 grand. So you can work it out, just under half. And let's call it 40% on 300 grand. Just keep it simple, yeah? 120 grand.
120 grand.
Yeah.
That you'd be paying in tax.
180. Yeah.
You could be left with 180, or...
That could pay quite a few people's mortgages off.
Yeah.
As in their home mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you could potentially...
Buy that red Ferrari you always wanted, Kieran. Okay, pink Ferrari for you, I know.
I love pink.
You can have the pink one.
Love the
match
colour
your,
pink. My pink headphones.
Headphones, yeah.
Yeah. And my pink coffee cup.
Yeah. And your pink shirt.
And my pink shirt, yeah.
Well, that used to be pink, didn't it?
No, this
it's
one's
maroon now.
This one's always been maroon. I do have a selection of pink shirts though. But it's a huge saving, and because and this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's still on the same thing. How much you can theoretically earn before you pay tax is you are paying tax, but you're claiming back.
Well, you're paying other taxes, Kieran, like we said.
Yeah, you're still paying other taxes
in the first half of this particular conversation.
Yeah,
directly or indirectly. Okay, when you're filling up, council tax. Okay.
Business rates.
Yeah, on your gas, electric, all those other things, your business rates, yeah. Employees, if you're an employer, employers' national insurance. If you're an employee, you're paying employees' national insurance.
Yeah. VAT. Okay. On any materials you've had to buy for your conversion.
Yeah, or other stuff as well.
Yeah.
No, not just obviously on buying materials for property, but that's something we talk about a lot. If you're buying property, you're paying SDLT. So when you turn left or right, or whatever, it's just a bit like Las Vegas. You know how they built Las Vegas? We turn left or right, maybe you're going to see a fruit machine or a gaming machine that's attempting to put some money in the slot, or to sit on the table. Whether you turn left or right, you're going to pay tax.
Yeah.
As long as you're breathing, you pay tax. And if you stop breathing, the last breath you take, there's one tax that might apply to you, is inheritance tax.
Yeah. And then your family has to pay death tax.
Yeah, and then when you get buried, there's probably some tax on
ground tax,
those cemetery charges as well. Tax. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, and so this is the point that I think we take away that we're kind of making here is it doesn't matter what you do. There's no avoiding tax.
Yeah, and you and I don't have a philosophical problem whatsoever with paying tax.
No.
Okay, no. Because we understand.
But I want to pay the right amount.
The government, operates, runs the country due to taxes being paid. As long as everybody pays the right amount that they ought to pay, in line with the rules, it's fine. But it's not a level playing field.
No, it's
One
not.
person has access to information, the other doesn't. So that person benefits. In any other situation, people say, that's unfair.
And
that's not right. It's not fair. How can that be okay? But in this particular situation, it seems to be okay, doesn't it?
Well, that's because it's the rules makers that have the information.
And
I'm not going to pass comment on that.
And I don't think anybody will ever, probably a good thing, I don't think anybody will ever say, we'll have a problem with someone saying, I paid the right amount of tax. If you earn £30,000 and you structured your income in the right way and if you paid no tax, people shouldn't be horrified by that. If they are, then they should be asking for the rules to be changed.
Yeah.
Basically, that's pretty smart of you because we use all the reliefs, allowances, exemptions available. Okay, maybe I can do the same.
Yeah. I mean, my first question would be, how have you done that and how can I emulate it?
Yeah.
Not, that's awful, you need to pay more. It would be, okay, you clearly know something I don't. Teach me. Talk to me. Tell me. But a lot of people don't do that.
This is the way the whole argument sort of people got to pay taxes, keeps the country going type of thing. And we all buy into that to some extent, and we see it obviously, yep, okay. And most people don't question it, do question it. There's nothing you can do about it anyway, so chin up and carry on, mate, type of thing, you know.
Well,
I think, man, yeah, but it still doesn't seem right, doesn't it? Fair.
It
and
doesn't.
people come to me who overpaid tax in the last 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, and they come to me after the first second, they say, I wish I waited 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because I paid too much and can't kind of go back and change all that, you know, because I never knew what I know now. You know?
And
which is sad and unfortunate and unfair.
It is. But what's crazy about that, though, is they've paid over the years more tax than perhaps they should have, and they should have come to you sooner. All right, fine. That's just the way it is, sadly. There's nothing you can do about that. But HMRC will make sure that they go back 7 years to make sure they get their fair cut.
Can't be haven't paid them yet. And further 20 years and longer, by the way.
You know,
under discovery. Yeah.
You know, so you know, the game is not a fair game. And as soon as you get your head around the fact that it's not fair, the happier you'll be, because you can start playing by their rules. And as soon as you start playing by their rules, it's a different game.
I think that the essence of this conversation, really, Kieron, is structure your affairs before the transaction takes place, okay, to give you the most efficient outcome.
Yeah.
And if you do that, and then you should be able to sleep at night quite easily, know you've done nothing wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
That's absolutely fine.
you've got 3 big rules for all of this, haven't you?
Go on then.
Is it legal?
Yes, that's important, because we never do anything illegal.
Never do anything illegal.
It's not worth it.
No, because you will get caught. You know, that's just
wrong.
That's just wrong.
We never endorse that.
Is it fair? Yeah. Is it?
No, that's not. Never say fair, because fair is too subjective. Is it acceptable?
Is it acceptable? That's the one. And when you say acceptable,
And the
is
third
it acceptable to me?
To start off with, yeah. People say HMRC, well, it's not about acceptability to HMRC. The rules are very clear. Some of them might be grey, but you know, and it's down to interpretation. But it's acceptable to you. Can you sleep at night?
Can you sleep at night?
Would you think you're a moral, ethical person doing what you've done? And if you think yes, I've done that. But I found the rules, and you can sleep at night, fine. Because nothing's worth having sleepless nights, in my view. It's just not worth it, Kieron.
No.
Might sound good in theory to some people. It ain't worth it. And the third one is it efficient?
Yes.
If it's not efficient, why do it?
Why do it?
Simple as that.
Yeah. So yeah, and I suggest that everyone goes into all of their tax affairs with those 3 rules in mind.
Yeah.
Legal, acceptable, efficient.
Yeah, those 2 tests, and if they work for you.
If it works for you, go for it.
But you know, people sometimes are a bit squeamish about. Oh, well, I've got to pay. What I've got to pay. You got to pay what you got to pay. Once you work out what you got to pay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just about working it out and doing things properly. So something you got husband and wife situation, for example. Okay, doesn't have to be husband and wife per se, but let's just say that. Okay, and the husband's earning £60,000 from the company,
high rate taxpayer,
and the wife's earning. Okay, the wife's earning £60,000, and the husband's earning £30,000. Same company, you know? Well, hold a minute. The husband's a base rate taxpayer, so why doesn't the wife take 45,000? Okay, and the other 15,000 that she was earning, give that to the husband, so he's on 45,000 as well, and pay 20% tax on that as opposed to 40% for the wife.
Yeah.
And then if you're claiming stuff like, let's say, child benefit, you can continue your claim to that as well. This was one example. Then sometimes people don't think about it.
Yeah.
And then you've got your unused partners, okay, spouses allowance, which is the marriage allowance.
Marriage allowance.
Unused, you can use that.
Yeah.
People don't know about that. Does that make sense? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with these things. It's just about sitting down and thinking about it.
It's I think it was a few years ago now, but the Beckhams, Victoria Beckham, you know, they've got a number of children. They were entitled to the tax credits, and that's just the way the system works. Now, granted, she said she didn't need them, so she took them and donated them straight to charity. But that's her choice.
That's nice of her, yeah.
Yeah, but the position she's in, she can happily do that.
Yeah. But not everybody probably would.
But not everyone is as.
I know everybody in that situation probably would do. Do you know what I mean? But
not everyone's as nice as that. But but the point is, they were still given their wealth, they were still entitled to those benefits, and the government still had to give them those benefits. What they did with them after that is kind of irrelevant.
The system needs a huge overhaul, especially with the old antiquated taxes, Kieran. And I think most politicians have got the goal and the guts to do that. One day somebody will, and it's going to be for the better.
Completely agree. And on that note, that's about all we've got time for. See you same time, same place.